Ladies, welcome back to another episode of the podcast. Today I'm going to talk you through why I see most women struggle and stay stuck. If you are a fan of watching this on YouTube, we're back on camera. Oh my gosh, this has been a long time coming. I'll get into the epiphany that I had earlier in the week. But today's episode is a good one. If you know that you generally stay in the same cycle, whether that's the mental cycle of yo-yoing or the diet cycle of yo-yoing, or you're always battling with losing and regaining the exact same amount of weight, we are going to talk about why that's happening and how to get out the other side on today's episode. But yeah, we're back on YouTube, so if you're a fan of watching the video footage of me recording this podcast, come and say hi. I've had a bit of an epiphany. Well, actually, Zoe, who I work with, who uploads all of the podcasts. We don't edit anything out, as I'm sure you've probably realised from previous episodes, ladies. We don't edit, we upload as it is. But Zoe's the genius on the tech side of things, which is why it's, why the podcast is being aired on all platforms. But she said to me, if you really want to grow and you're really serious, because our growth has been great since we launched, would I love it to be more? Absolutely. And Zoe was just like, you need to get out of your own way and film it, because statistics show, the algorithm shows, whatever it is, that podcasts that are being also videoed for whatever reason perform better. And the better that your podcast performs, the more women that it's going to reach. And she was like, and this is about reaching more women, right? It's not about you, it's about making impact. And this conversation falling into the right woman's ears or, wavelength or whatever. She was like, no one cares what you look like. Genuinely, if that's what you're sweating over, no one cares what you look like. So don't be worrying about glamming up or doing any of that. Just press record, video yourself as you're recording the podcast. And let's see if it makes any difference. So here I am. I'm back behind the camera. And I definitely haven't glammed myself up. Ladies, I have got a busy day today, but I am very much just sat behind the laptop. So if you are watching this, I put on some comfy jogging bottoms, and it is the middle of May almost, and I'm sat in a hoodie because such is the UK weather. Last week I had the back doors open and it was glorious all week, and this week it's back to wearing the hoodies indoors. So yeah, ultimately, Nick, get over yourself, get behind the camera. The purpose of Thriving Women is to create almost like a movement, because you ladies that listen to the podcast and have worked with me and know me on a personal level know that I've got two very strong reasons why I do this. Very strong reasons for me. One is that my own mum really struggled with self-confidence, and I witnessed that growing up. And then obviously as I got older into my teen years and my 20s, first of all, I could see that, but I also had a perspective on it because I was now a young woman. And so wouldn't it be amazing to transform women who struggle like my mum did into thinking differently and taking care of themselves differently and prioritising themselves and, allowing themselves to thrive. And then the other reason why is my own two daughters. For me, this is everything. Ladies, we talk about wanting the best for our kids, but I genuinely believe it starts with us. If we are going to create a different way of thinking, a different narrative for ourselves, but for our kids, we have to live it. We have to live it now and normalise it. So yeah, that is the big vision. And if I have got to rock up on camera in my very creased jogging bottoms and hoodie in order to grow and get this message out to even more women, then so be it. On that note, I really support everybody who does listen to the podcast and shares it and recommends it and tags me and all of the things, because it's probably nothing to you, but it's everything. It's everything to us, because it really does help to grow and push the numbers out. And that's not an ego thing. It's not numbers trying to get followers or anything of that. It's how many more women, because we talk about finding our people and all of that other good stuff, but again, we've all got to normalise this way of thinking in order to come together, if that makes sense. On that note, I will kick off with my unfiltered. So the previous episode that I put out this week, I don't know whether you will have had a chance to listen to it, but I spoke about the importance of giving ourselves some grace. And I felt like it was a little bit of a dangerous subject to talk about because the fitness industry right now is heavily pushing summer is around the corner and you've got to get in shape and this is how you're going to lose the weight the quickest and come and work with me. And whilst I think that that's really motivating and a lot of women do need that push maybe, and we're going to talk today about why you might be staying stuck, it's also very important if you're one of my listeners and you're inside of like my kind of community, then the majority of us, we've got busy lives, we've got kids, some of us we've got kids and we've got elderly parents, like we're looking at both ends of the spectrum. We've got jobs, we've got high expectations, we want to take care of ourselves, we want to do all of the things, and too many women are reaching the point of burnout because they are not allowing themselves permission to just recharge at random. Now, I've got a caveat and I'm going to refer back to the episode. You can't just recharge by the minutes. Like, we've got to have some discipline, structure in place. We've got to know why it matters to us ultimately. The minute that you dial into your reason why. And we need to remove overwhelm. We need to simplify the process and all of the things that I will always help you do. And if you are not part of Thriving Women, listen to the podcast and you will get as much information as you need to at least get you started. But it's important that we acknowledge that whether we give ourselves permission to take the day off or whether we just randomly take the day off and call it self-sabotage, it's happening anyway. It is happening anyway. So we might as well give ourselves permission, enjoy it, without the feeling like we're self-sabotaging, without the feeling like we can't do this, without the feeling like we're letting ourselves down, because that's all negative emotion, that's all fear-driven emotion. And we talk about the emotional side of fitness. And ladies, that's exactly why we need to take this recharge every now and then. Because emotionally and mentally is also a big part of like who we are as beings. It's not just checking the data into Fitness Pal and getting the reps in the gym. That is a part of the bigger picture. But mentally and emotionally, and I want you to think about that because I did feel it was a bit risky to post, knowing that most women just want to be told to stay motivated right now. They just want to be told how to eat, what to eat, all of the things. That's great. But if every couple of weeks you're going to keep hitting a brick wall and burning out, then you also need to understand how to regulate and how to best take care of yourself. Like I cannot underline that enough. It comes down to how to best take care of yourself. This week's unfiltered moment, a little bit of a heartfelt one. I am going to, genuinely, I feel like I'm going to have to suck in the tears to even say this out loud because, again, I don't know if it's that you're overly compassionate or empathetic or I don't know what it is. But whenever I'm speaking about mum to mum, mother to mother, or even like woman to woman, I get so emotionally charged. And I was in the gym earlier today, and the gym that I go to also has a nursery. And so depending on what time I'm in there, very grateful that my hubby will allow me to, get into the gym first thing in the morning. He'll get up and get the kids sorted. I know not everyone's got that flexibility, so I am very grateful for that. So normally I will get into the gym for like 6, maybe 5:30, and then I'll leave sort of like 7, maybe 7:30. So if I'm there between 7 and 7:30, I often see, because where I train is like right by the exit. It's quite a big gym. I've spoken about this before, but I just have like this little corner that I keep myself in, right by the exit, so I can just quickly get my workout done. Like, don't need bells and whistles. Get in, get out. And so you see through the glass, the parents coming and dropping the kiddos off to nursery. So if it's between 7 and 7:30, you start to see the kids getting dropped off. And this morning, I seen a woman that I recognised coming in to bring her baby in. And she's a woman in the community, and her role in the community supports other children, basically, okay, without going into too much detail. And I just felt like this big lump. So I'm doing a seal row. If anybody knows what a seal row is, I'm just like rowing the dumbbells, and I'm currently in a strength training phase, ladies. So I'm like doing all of the ugly faces, like trying to get that last rep up. And as I dropped the weight, I just glanced up and I saw her, and I thought, what a woman. Like, so you forget these things, don't you? You see this woman in the community, and you will be exactly the same if you're listening to this, because we've all got our superpowers that just go under the radar. And this whole Unfiltered is just an acknowledgement to the amazing women that we're surrounded by. But I thought, what a woman. Like, she's dropping her own baby at the crack of dawn. And it was only a baby that she had, you know, maybe like under 2 years old, to then go and support children for the whole day. And it just dawned on me the gut-wrenching emotional side of like being a woman. And I know I'm saying being a woman, and I'm sure dads also feel this as well, but I don't think any dads are listening to this. So, you know, it really reminded me that why we know that we need to be doing all of the things and stay disciplined and, you know, get your meals in check and do all of the, and like, listen, it really matters. Like, I genuinely was thinking about this woman, and I thought, okay, so because I'm, you know, coach's brain always is switched on. And I was thinking, well, for her, she starts the day, you know, 7:20 in the morning, here she is dropping her little one off. So if she was working out, she would have to be up at this time, she'd have to be eating breakfast at this time, she'd have to be prepping these meals. It takes a lot of effort, we've spoken about that. But then we've also got this other dimension to us, haven't we? A lot of the time as women, whereby emotionally we're also on this roller coaster all day of like giving, whether it's just managing our own kids' emotions or their ups and downs. And yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge that. And listen, the majority of women are going to experience that, whether it's dropping our kids at school or off at the nursery, you know, before 7:30 a.m. to then go out, earn a living so we can support our kids and support ourselves and have this thriving lifestyle. And then the minute that we finish the day, we pick our kids up and we're at their beck and call again, and we're doing all of the things to support them. And somewhere in the chaos, even if we are exhausted, somewhere in the chaos, we're also trying to take care of ourselves. And we want to show up in a certain way, and we need to feel like that we feel that we need to fit this narrative of like looking a certain way, and like all of these boxes needed to be checked, and it's a lot. And it is a lot. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that on the podcast, because it's never not on my mind. And I think that's why I share so much of the nuanced mental and emotional side of it, because it doesn't matter how much information you take in. It doesn't matter how many times that you get told that you should be tracking calories or whatever. If mentally and emotionally you're not also able to acknowledge the things that you do really well and that maybe you struggle with, then you're always going to struggle with that. And so I think we need to give ourselves some gratitude sometimes. I practice gratitude all of the time, and I never, very rarely give gratitude for what I do, like myself. And you might be the same. So if you're listening to this and you've given gratitude today, whether you have or whether you haven't, I really want you to think what you're grateful for yourself. And please don't do this like, you know, off the cuff, or think, oh, I'll come back to this. Or if you are listening, pause the episode. What are you truly grateful for yourself for? I go a bit deep on these, don't I? But it's so true. Like, we don't do it, and we actually should practice doing it, because a big part of where I see women, and I'll just get into the episode now of why women stay stuck, but one little nuanced factor which is not on my notes for today is that we struggle with sabotage, don't we? With self-sabotaging ourselves, because we don't know how to best care for ourselves, and we don't know how to give ourselves gratitude. And so in that, our central nervous system is alight all day. Like, you think if you go into a state of gratitude, you instantly calm your central nervous system. Instantly. That's why it's such a popular method of starting your day and ending your day, because it calms your central nervous system. Okay, anyone who struggles with anxiety or anything else where we're trying to calm your central nervous system, one of the methods I'm sure along the way that will be offered to you is like practice gratitude. Try just practicing gratitude. Take yourself into this state, because as a general state of being, it's very calming. And I think that if we were better at doing that, then maybe we would be able to avoid so much sabotage, because as a general rule, we would be able to self-regulate a little better. And I do this with my kids. So I would also recommend that if you're a mum, get your kids to do it as well. Like, give them the tools now that are going to set them up forever, because I wish someone would have told me when I was younger that just going into this internal state of gratitude is one way to instantly calm the nervous system. Anyway, back to the nitty-gritty of this week's podcast. Why most women stay stuck. Ladies, I think we're probably now 7 weeks out. Listen, I'm saying 7 weeks out until summer. I need to do a whole other podcast on this. Your body, your health, and all of the other amazing things that we are striving towards. It's not a seasonal goal, okay? We might know that we're going to be getting in our bikini or our swimwear for the summer. So, absolutely, do we want to give ourselves the best chance to be at our optimal physique by the summer? Yeah, 100%. But we don't just get to the summer and switch off. It's not like, oh, okay, I can stop doing all of the things now. This is a lifestyle. It is a lifestyle. And even if you've got to take the next 12 months going through the stages, be willing to do it, because it's so worth it when you get on the other side. But a lot of the reasons why I see women stay stuck are these. First of all, we think that losing weight is the process. You know the way we talk about enjoy the process and this is the journey. We think somewhere along the line, I've definitely been caught in this trap. We think losing weight's the process. It's not. It's just a part of the process. Actually, when you lose weight, when you drop the body fat, you then get yourself into a position where you are able to really get after the things that are going to transform your body composition, your body as a whole, your health, your, longevity, all of the good stuff. Like, we drop the body fat, we lift calories up a little bit. You are now lifting heavier, okay? You're performing better, you're recovering better, you are running faster, you're hitting personal bests, you're setting yourself up to compete for different things. You are, it always takes effort. There's always a constant level of effort that's required. And on all levels, you hear me say this all of the time. It's kind of like a grey area because it's effort, but it's also a lifestyle, so it doesn't really feel like effort, but when we strip it down, it is. A lot of it is decision making. So we're just getting ourselves into a position where we're really good at making good decisions. So it takes effort, but also we've made it easy for ourselves because we've built the habits and behaviours that hold us up. But I've got to underline that, fat loss, losing the weight, is just a part of the process. It's not the process itself. And you will stay stuck if you commit to a fat loss phase. And then every time you get to that goal weight, and if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see I've just done inverted commas for that, because the goal weight, we pluck it out of thin air half the time. But once you get yourself there, you can't then just go back to old habits, old behaviours, or taking your foot off the gas. It doesn't work like that. And this is why so many women are enticed by quick fix remedies, because we think that dropping that initial amount of body fat is the process, but it's not. And actually, you would be so much better off, and I know it might take a little bit longer. If you're listening to this and you're over 35, okay, are we not over yo-yoing? At this point, are we not willing to just give ourselves a little bit more time to do this in a way that's going to set us up for the long term, and it's going to actually get us to where we want to be? Not just a smaller version of ourselves who still feels a little bit soft when she's finally in a bikini or whatever. If we're going to do this, let's do it properly. Fair enough, in your 20s, you spend that whole time just trying to fit a mold and fit in or whatever. But at some point, surely we've got to get to the stage where we're I'm really over caring what everybody else thinks and what the current body trend is, and I'm actually so invested in seeing what I am capable of. And so fat loss is only part of the process. And when you commit to these quick overnight fixes, and we can accelerate fat loss, and I can talk about that all day, but when you are only interested in that side of it, sure, you're going to lose the weight. Okay, again, weight in inverted commas, because percentage of that's going to be muscle. But what happens when you get there? If you've learned nothing along the way, if you've not established good habits or good behaviours, you're just going to continue to yo-yo. So it's just a part of the process. When you get that body fat off, we've still got work to do. But maybe at that stage, then the work is, we're looking at training intensity, we're looking at building strength, we're looking at different training modalities, we're looking at ways to manage calories now that allows more food, but we are still looking to optimize the quality of what you're eating. Maybe when we drop that initial amount of body fat and we bring you up to maintenance, yeah, for sure, we're allowed to, we can give ourselves permission to have that little bit more flexibility. But we've got to acknowledge that it's only part of the process, ladies. So if you are blitzing the diet right now and you've got a plan to just take your foot off the gas completely over the summer because the kids are off, and you've convinced yourself, well, nothing can be done when the kids are off, that is an excuse that you are allowing yourself to fall into every year. And it's going to burn you out. Eventually, it's going to exhaust you. Number 2, why most women, stay stuck, is we're doing things upside down. So similar to what I've just said, it is that we, instead of being willing to build the foundations in the first 6 weeks, the good habits, the good behaviours, the knowledge and the education around how to navigate socials and how to make great decisions when it comes to nutrition and how to fuel our workouts and how to fuel around menstrual cycle and all of the little grey areas that as women we've just got to get better. We've got to get better at adapting to. We just want to lose the weight. We just want to lose the weight as quick as possible. And then we maybe convince ourselves that we'll establish all of the good habits and behaviours once we've lost the weight. Do you know what I mean? Like, let me get out the other side. Let me just blitz this diet. Let me just drink these juices 3 times a day for the next 7 days. And then I'll try and get in really good habits and behaviours. It doesn't work like that. That is like trying to do an upside down pyramid. And so we keep falling off, don't we? And it's, I say we. Actually, not me. I'm 43 now and I've done this for over 20 years, ladies, just to acknowledge, the perspective of it takes time. It hasn't taken me 20 years to get to this stage, but I've definitely had those years where I was also in that mix of yo-yoing, and it's doing things upside down. It doesn't work like that. Establish the habits, behaviours. And if you're listening to this thinking, oh, this is just like, it's words that are so overused, good habits and good behaviours, but what does that actually look like? Well, that is where I would say, get yourself into a good community with a good coach, get yourself a mentor, like get that accountability around the habits and the behaviours that are going to keep you feeling at your best. And like I spoke about in last week's episode, some of those will be giving yourself a chance to recharge, mentally switch off and emotionally reset and all of the things. But if we're going to do it the right way, we've got to think about establishing the foundations first, because I say this inside of our community all of the time. It's like, the way, I don't know if any of you are like this, but I don't like my kids looking at screens, really. I've had to bend it a little bit because some of what Penelope does now at the stage she's in at school, it's just required. And it's life, it is what it is. But I'm of the mindset, especially if it's like YouTube and stuff like that, I'm like, I know you can parental control and everything, but you can't, once you see something, you can't unsee it. So I just would rather they didn't. I don't want them to, like, they didn't even know Instagram existed until like a couple of months ago. Someone in school had mentioned Instagram, and then someone's mum had said, I follow your mum or whatever, and Penelope's like, are you on Instagram? And I'm like, how do you know what that is? Because I try to keep that, as ironic as it is, because I do post about what I'm doing with the kids and everything else, I try to keep that off their radar as best as possible, because I just don't want them to ever come across anything that they can't unsee. And like, I think I'm probably a little bit in my own experience here as a kid. There was definitely things that I seen and heard, and I think all kids are going to go through it, aren't they, before I was ready to. And it's the same with the narrative and the habits and the behaviours with your health and fitness, is that like, once we establish the good stuff, ladies, you can't unknow that. You can't unknow the good stuff. So then you just get so much better at making really good decisions for yourself, because we've established not only habits and behaviours, but we've established them specifically for you, and you understand why we're doing things a certain way. So it's not just like drink your water and get in bed and get your 10,000 steps. Like, that's all great, but why are we doing it? And why does that matter to you? And how is this going to make an impact? So, and I think, without getting too much into it, the whole skinny trend at the moment is basically on a bigger scale, this upside down pyramid. And we've seen it, haven't we? We're already starting to see it now, is that women who are coming off the medication, and if you're listening to this and you've been on the medication and you're struggling, I am not here to pass judgment at all. You can drop me a message, or, I'm here to support any woman at any stage of the journey. But largely, we are seeing this in effect, is that when women are coming off the medication, because we've been so encouraged to just, at all costs, get that weight off, get skinny. It's rebound central. It's rebound central because there was no knowledge in the background ever. It was just, here's a quick fix, and, when when you're ready to come off it, you're probably going to rebound. So maybe you'll have to stay on it for life. And it's a broken cycle, and it's going to keep you stuck. Here's one that I think is potentially going to be a little bit raw to hear, because I know I definitely still struggle with this one, but I try my best, as we all do. But you might be staying stuck because you think the non-negotiables are up for negotiation. So what do I mean by that? We commit to non-negotiables. We're going to eat in a certain way. We're going to do all of these things. We're going to show up for ourselves. But then we negotiate with our own standards whenever the mood takes us. So and I see this a lot, especially with women who struggle with time. Okay, now time, I cannot tell you enough, it's not the same for every woman. It's not the same 24 hours for every woman. I know as a coach, I'm going to go against the grain of that bullshit narrative that we've all got the same 24 hours in the day. No, we haven't. Maybe on an actual factual clock we have, but no, we haven't. Because the woman who's got no kids, who is maybe a fitness coach, okay? So she lives and breathes, you might be following her on Instagram, she lives and breathes fitness. It's actually her job to keep in shape. She's got all day to prep her meals. She's got no kids or clubs, or she's got no babies waking her in the night, or she hasn't got any of those other things to manage. Her 24 hours are very different to that woman I spoke about at the beginning of the episode who was dropping her baby off at 7:20 in the morning. Like, that's not the same 24 hours. But either way, no matter what camp you fall into, whether you're either extreme or somewhere in the middle, the reality is we've got to show up for ourselves in the best way possible without comparing ourselves to anyone else, but whatever that means to us. And that's why everyone's non-negotiables are different. Your non-negotiables might be like really, honestly, just like small daily habits that just keep you feeling mentally at your best and are long-term going to drive fat loss. Your non-negotiables right now, you might have a big event coming up and your non-negotiables are big. We are talking 15,000 steps a day. We are talking you're in a calorie deficit. You're doing all of the things. Doesn't matter. The point is establish your non-negotiables and then stop negotiating with yourself on them. Get them done. Because we negotiate because we feel, not that we're lazy. I don't think it's laziness. I genuinely think it just feels like a luxury to take care of ourselves. I think that's how so many women think, is that it's a luxury to take care of myself. And so when we negotiate with our standards, we don't necessarily feel that we're letting ourselves down. We just convince ourselves we've got no time to show up for ourselves. So it goes back to this whole battle with time, is that we convince ourselves that our standards are able to be negotiated, and you've just got to go through a period of not negotiating with yourself. And this is why I cannot say it enough. Start small and remove the need to overwhelm yourself, because you won't be able to keep that up, and so you will keep negotiating with yourself, and you'll never truly figure out what lands and what sticks and what works and what doesn't. It's going to feel uncomfortable, we know that, but if you want to get unstuck, you want to get on the other side, you want to build this thriving lifestyle whereby still going to have the peaks and troughs. Listen to the last episode. But, we've nailed it. We're on the ground running. You've got to stop negotiating with yourself. You've got to stop negotiating on the standards that you want to hold yourself to. And if you struggle with that, then I strongly recommend you get some accountability, because as much as we are great ladies at keeping everyone else in check, when it comes to ourselves, the discipline, and maybe it's the discipline and the willpower to some degree, is it's spent by the time we get to ourselves. And again, we have this echo chamber in our minds, don't we, of like, but as long as everyone else is okay, I'll be okay. And it's like, no, there is actually, there's better for you. There is a standard that you can hold yourself to, but maybe you just need some accountability in order to get the momentum going with that and to stop negotiating with yourself. And, if getting accountability and support is not an option, write it down. Write down your reason why and read it every morning and every night. Like, genuinely, you're looking at your phone anyway. So you're reading something, whether it's someone else's caption or story. Read your own reason why and remember why this is so important to you. And I promise that will cut in half the amount of times that you negotiate with your standards, because you will remind yourself why. Reason number 4. We fail to commit to either side of the process well enough. So I speak about fat loss is only a part of the process. Then there's another amazing part of the process, which is performance. And it's improving and building and creating that adaptation and building that aesthetic. We have to be willing to commit whatever stage that we're in. So let's say, for example, you're in a fat loss stage, but you don't really commit to it. Okay, Monday to Friday, you are on fire, you're organised, you're getting your steps, you're doing all of the things, but then at the weekend, we fall into that trap of we negotiate with ourselves. Okay, so you're in this cycle, but Monday and Friday feels such a challenge, Monday to Friday, that we convince ourselves we are doing enough, but we're not really committing to the process. We know that. We're not. We're only committing to 5 days out of 7 as a percentage. I don't know what that is. What is it? It's over 50%. It's over, the 2 days, the Saturday and Sunday. Oh, what? 30%? Just shy of 30%. That's a big amount. That's a big chunk of the pie. So if we're consistently negotiating on 2 days, on almost 30% of our overall 100, then we are going to stay stuck, because we're never going to quite achieve the outcome that we think that we deserve. We think we deserve it because Monday to Friday, we are all in. We are gung-ho. We feel like we should be seeing more progress. We don't understand, why am I not changing at the rate in which I expect? Because we underestimate what those 2 days can do. And at best, they might keep you at maintenance. So we've got to commit to that stage. And then the other stage, which is, we want to build strength, we want to perform, we want that muscle. Ladies, if you have a goal to live a long, healthy life, you want to thrive, you want to be able to eat more, you want to feel strong, you want to look like you work out, you want to have that tone, that composition, then that is muscle. And it's really hard for us ladies to build big muscles like men. So if you're listening to this thinking, I don't really know if I want to be in that phase, it just basically means going in and lifting heavier and progressively getting stronger and treating your workouts as a performance on some level. But you've also got to commit to that stage too. And that stage also requires pretty much the same, but just with more calories. We're training hard, we're prioritising our sleep, we're prioritising our rest, but invest in it. So me at the moment, I am heavily invested in this strength training phase. There have been a couple of things that have crept in from the sidelines, come and do this high rocks class or whatever. And listen, I'm down for doing all of that still. I love it. I love the adrenaline and everything else. But I am invested in, I want to achieve this amount of sessions a week. I want to see this amount of progress. I want my central nervous system and my results to stay in check. And I noticed when I was doing certain things, certain classes or whatever, I was just throwing myself out of whack, ladies. I was reaching my strain far too early in the day I now use an Oura ring, but I was using a Whoop. And it was just the little nuanced things that I was doing. Well, it seemed nuanced, but it was spreading myself too thin instead of just being all in. If you say you're going to strength train, go all in. Commit to a block and focus on building strength, lifting heavier, recovering hard, all of the good stuff. So we've got to commit to both sides of the spectrum, so to speak. And obviously we've got that little middle area where maybe we're at maintenance, and even during that maintenance stage where maybe we go on the holidays, and if you are lucky enough that you get to this summer and you are exactly where you want to be, you are still going to have to work to maintain over the summer. With flexibility, with the ability to socialise, go to the barbecues, host the barbecues, go on the holidays, but it's still going to require a level of showing up for yourself. And that is also a process that we commit to. So it's committing to each stage as you're in it. And if you only dabble, then you're going to stay stuck. And you might stay at a place where you're not so unhappy, but you're not quite progressing. You're not quite moving to the stage where you would love to get to. Last one, and then I'll wrap up this episode, is probably the most common classic, and it is, you think that you know what you need to do, and so you just need to do it. Honestly, if there was a strap line for any woman ever, And this is me in like many other areas, ladies, so I ain't judging, like, trust me. I'm talking about health and fitness. This is my area. I am so heavily invested in helping you achieve all of your body, health, fitness, wellness, mindset goals. But there's other areas where I feel that I know what I need to do. This is why I've always had mentors. Like, I have spent thousands and thousands of pounds on investing in coaches, mentors, whatever it is, money that I feel is well spent, because I feel that you always need to have that coach and that support. But a lot of the time, what we hear is, I know what I need to do, so I'm just going to do it. Well, if we knew what we needed to do, then we would be where we want to be. But knowing what you need to do versus having the structure in place that allows you to follow through on that is two different things. So just repeating that in your mind is keeping you stuck. I have a woman who I work with, and I've worked with for a couple of months, and she's amazing. And when we first started working together, she was very much of the mindset. In fact, we had a call before she then reached out and said, like, I'm ready to, like, hit the green, let's go. Because she was very much of the mindset of, like, I like the idea of coaching, but I feel like I should just give myself a bit of time, because I know what I need to do next. So I'm just going to do it. And I'm going to get myself on the ground running, get myself in a better headspace, and then I'd love to jump into coaching. Because in her mind, she was like, I want to get the most out of coaching, so I don't want to spend it learning the basics, which, the irony, but anyway. Because she was like, I know what I need to do when it comes to the basic stuff, so let me just get the ball rolling with that. Well, obviously that didn't happen, and that's why we now work together, and she's had great success, and she's doing amazing. But, you know, that epiphany for her, they're like, oh... 3 months have passed, and I did say that I knew what I needed to do, but I'm still in the same position. So yeah, let's just get into it and we'll build from there. But we tell ourselves that, and it's almost like we feel, I think, as women, that we should be able to do it all of the time without any help. I think that's another part of it, is that it feels like an indulgence, doesn't it, to be part of a program or have support or have a coach or even invest any time into ourselves. It feels like such an indulgence. And it's like, you don't deserve that indulgence, is what we tell ourselves. You're not worthy of that, because you know what you should be doing. So what makes you think that you're worthy of that time, money, energy, when actually you could just be disciplined and get your arse in gear? I know that that's what you all say to yourselves on some level, but it's just not true, and it's keeping you stuck. And the thing is that we then create this echo chamber. So we go looking for, whether it's social media or on ChatGPT or whatever it is, we look for information that backs up this thought process that we can do it on our own, like we know what we should be doing. So you can go onto an AI and get, you know, a generic bit of feedback or maybe a bit of a game plan. Don't forget that AI is heavily geared to just tell you what you want to hear. Of course it is. Sometimes it really annoys me, to be honest. Sometimes, like, you'll key something in and I'm just like, oh, stop kissing me arse and just give me... And I know you can prompt it to give you some real talk and all the rest of it. But if you're in that mindset of, I know what I should be doing, I just need to do it, then, you know, whenever you're struggling and you put that into AI, and it's going to acknowledge the struggle, which I think is important, of course, but it's just going to keep you in that echo chamber of convincing yourself that, like, look, if you just follow this, do this, but it's going to keep you stuck. Ultimately, at the end of the day, ladies, it keeps you stuck. And so I will wrap this up. I would love to know if any of those hit for you. You know, what area is it that you know that you are keeping yourself stuck? What cycle are you in whereby you know it's not really going to get you to where you want to be, but we're finding it so hard to break the cycle for whatever reason? You know, I think at the end of the day, it is hard. It's hard to transform. I was listening to something this morning, and on my way to the gym, I'll always try to listen to something. Depends on what mood I'm in. Sometimes I'll put the dance music on, like at the crack of dawn. But sometimes, most of the time, I'll just listen to something mindset for a sec. I just put YouTube on, by the way, for anyone who's thinking they want to do the same. And I'll just, normally my YouTube, because I've listened to it for so long now in this way, it's curated in the way that, like, when I go on my homepage, it's normally got a suggestion of, like, morning mindset or morning motivation or whatever it is. So I'll just press play on whatever it is. And it was a clip, and it was saying, like, the hardest part of change is making a different decision to the day before. Like, that is it, point blank. The hardest part And I was like, oh, that's hit. Like, that is so true. Like, the hardest part of change is just making a different decision to what you did the day before. So no one is saying that this isn't hard, ladies. It is. It's just that the payoff, the benefit of getting out the other side is so worth it, so sweet. Everything and more that we hoped it would be, because it truly unlocks these new levels and it really helps to build this resilience mentally and physically. And after 20 years, like I will say, it's always consistent effort, but it just becomes a part of your identity. It becomes a part of who you are. So if you do find yourself constantly yo-yoing, or you are stuck and you feel as though you're in this cycle of, like, you can almost feel yourself getting pulled into it in the lead up to summer, and you just know that the last couple of years you've done the exact same thing, like you just keep getting pulled into this. It's 6 weeks, hit play, press this button now, drink these juices, whatever it is. I actually saw something on socials the other day where someone was like, building glutes, I'm going to say this, like that's your butt muscle, by the way, in inverted commas, and it was like a pulse machine. And you know, and you're just like, oh my God, the world's gone balmy, but never mind. I was like, scroll past that. I don't know why I just went off onto that tangent then, but you know, if you know that you're getting pulled into these little fad ways and you are ready to break the cycle, it's going to take a real just moment of action, because if you procrastinate on it for too long, you're going to go back into that echo chamber like, I know what I should be doing. So I know everything that Nick's saying, but I also know what I should be doing. But, you know, I would love to hear from you. And, you know, that's not to say that you've got to come inside of Time to Thrive or you've got to be part of the coaching, but that's what we're here for. That's what we have the free community for. And so, yeah, if you are stuck, if you know that you need support or help or accountability, I would love to hear from you. If you enjoyed this episode, ladies, please give it a share. Please subscribe to the channel. Please like the episode. It just really helps to drive the numbers. And I always listened to other people's podcasts before having my own and ignored that message because, well, not purposely, but like life is busy and you're thinking, oh, stop asking me to do favours. I'm just listening to your podcast. And now I have got my own podcast. And here I am, ironically, asking you to do the same because I totally realise the importance behind it. And so, yeah, I am that person now who likes and subscribes and does all of the things. So, yeah, it's much appreciated. And I will look forward to catching you all on the next episode of the Fit and Unfiltered podcast.